Good evening, our fans from around the world. We're here to preview the Belgian Grand Prix, popularly known as Spa. And with me to discuss the points surrounding the Formula One Grand Prix is Biodu Manjoko. Biodu, you are very welcome. Today, we're going to be looking at a number of things. First of all, we want to do a review of the Hungaroring Grand Prix that was won by Oscar Piastri. I think that was his maiden victory. Up to now, he has not won any Grand Prix.
Yes, that was his first Formula One race win in Formula One.
Once again, congratulations to Oscar Piastri. But what really baffled me in that race was, and that's what I want us to start with, is McLaren's team orders basically asking Lando Norris give way and allow Oscar Piastri to overtake and win the race, while Norris actually maintained a podium position. Personally, an ambitious driver have some air of ruthlessness. Personally, if it was me, I would have feigned some communication errors or pretended as if I didn't hear the orders. But an ambitious driver wouldn't have. What are your thoughts around this kind of team orders? Is it that there's an agreement at the beginning that this is the way the team will be structured, or it is actually built into the contract of these drivers that, look, this is the number one driver, he'll be given preference, or both drivers are equal, and based on team orders, anything can change at any time? What are your thoughts, Bjorn?
Yeah, thank you, Afolabi, and it's great to be on the show once again. Rightly said, I think it depends on the team first and foremost. I can recall when this same scenario played with Red Bull a couple of races back where they spoke to Max Verstappen and they told Max to allow Checo pass after Checo gave him position due to the same scenario, and Max said he gave his reasons and he told them not to ask him about it. So clearly, the dominance in McLaren is not there. There's no really number one driver in sense like that as Red Bull is. So for McLaren, I think looking at it strategically, it depends on the team and it depends on team orders. We've seen team orders play for several teams like Mercedes, where Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas were teammates. This plays in, and sometimes team orders play in a part that maybe if the driver chasing the opposing car ahead cannot overtake him, they will say, okay, overtake, I have the pace to get past him. If you get past him, you can maintain the position. If not, you have to give back the position because he allowed you easy overtaking on track. But I think for McLaren, I think what really happened on the race day was just about them trying to cover up those behind them. And that is why they had to pit Lando Norris first. Normally, in a race, when in racing, whoever the lead car always gets the priority with regards pit stop. So whoever is ahead, whichever driver is leading, always pits first. But because of they needed to cover up the other opposition teams, they had to pit Lando Norris first. And pitting Lando Norris first meant that he will overtake Piastri on track. But if they had pitted Piastri on track, Lando Norris would have fell way behind, maybe coming out in P4, P5 position. So it was just the logical and right thing to do for the team to ensure a 1-2 victory. And that was what the team McLaren were worried about. They just wanted to secure that first and second position win for team. So I think when they call in the team orders for Lando to let Piastri pass, I think it was just the right and proper thing to do because in a couple of races back where Piastri also overtook Lando due to pit stop strategy and they asked Piastri to let Lando pass, Piastri obliged and let Lando through. So it was Lando's time for him to repay that trust that Piastri had in him. And lucky for him, he did not disappoint. He clearly showed that he's a gentleman and he's someone that sticks and abides by his words. But many would that is not the characteristics of a good driver. But I think that is just the characteristics of a good team player because they are driving as a team. And once this bad blood comes in, you see that progression as a team would suffer. And if you look at it now, that is what is actually affecting Red Bull and affecting their chances in winning the constructors. So I think there should be mutual respect with across both drivers. Once a gentleman agreement has been agreed off track or during race, it should be stuck by. Maybe if there were no agreement, you know that you have to. But once a gentleman agreement has been made, this I think is the right thing to do as a proper and a right individual to just abide by what has been agreed upon. And kudos to
Okay.
Lando Norris for
So the
But
team
unfortunately,
strategy.
many have said the 6 points might come to hurt him in the drivers' championship, but I don't believe so. I believe it will play on the drivers' championship.
It appears McLaren tends to, value the constructors over and above whatever it is the driver is doing. And maybe they've looked at it that Lando Norris, who is the slightly better driver, may not be able to claw back the gap between him and Verstappen. So it would pay them to, tailor their strategy towards a constructor's victory rather than giving any driver preference, as it were. But this kind of scenario, if it was in Red Bull, how do you think it would have played out? Especially now that Checo is not driving very well.
No, well, I think we've seen this in Red Bull, and where I think Checo allowed Max overtake him on track. I think for a reason to overtake somebody, and Max couldn't overtake the person. Then I asked Max to give the place back to Checo because Checo just let him through on track. And Max Verstappen refused. He told the team that he has spoken to them about it, that they should not be asking him about this. He has given his reasons off season, and he has told them several times that they should not be letting him asking him to let his teammate through overtaking him. So he wants to be the number one driver. I think he's had that conversation with the team. He's the dominant driver, he's the number one driver, and I think his opinion stands before win the team.
Okay, so there's a prior arrangement, basically.
Yes,
that arrangement is built into the contract with the team.
Yes. But there are some instances where a gentleman agreement is agreed. For instance, because I recall that race where I think Checo was second, Max was third, and someone was leading. So Max was like, let Checo let me through, I can overtake him. And they gave the team orders that Checo let him through. Checo slowed down, Max went through. And Max could not overtake him. So when it was the final lap, they told Max, you have to give the place back because he let you and you couldn't overtake him. So we've seen this happen. Aside Max, it has happened between Hülkenberg and Magnussen before on track. And sometimes the drivers decide to disobey the team orders and they have a spat and a rift in the locker room behind the scenes and they move on from it. But I think for me, in my opinion, or as a person, in my own personality, I think it's just on sportsmanship when you give a position to someone on track and you don't return the favor and return it back when it's due time to do. If you want to overtake me on track, okay, fight me on track and overtake me on track. Now you can't fight me on track and overtake me on track. I let you by, and for you to give me back the position because you could not benefit from it now, you now are now causing a scenario, causing drama about it. I think that is just the attitude of a sports child or a sports of someone.
Okay. In fact, when I was researching for this show, I actually heard that it's happened between Valerie Bottas and Lewis Hamilton too, that Hamilton had to, cede his position for Bottas to win the race.
Yes.
And I think it was in this Hungaroring as well, maybe 2017
I think it was a lap. I think Lewis was P3, Bottas was P2, and I think Max was P1. So Lewis told the team that he had some race pace that he can attack Max, that Valtteri should let him by. So they gave the team order that Valtteri should let him by. Valtteri let him by. But he was trying, he couldn't get past Max. So at the final lap, they told him, Lewis, you have to give the place back to Valtteri. And he slowed down for Valtteri to overtake him. I recall that race vividly. And Valtteri overtook him and took back the place. And Valtteri said, thank you, mate. Thanks for being a gentleman and honoring your word. And that mutual respect and that mutual bond is still there with both drivers still today. I think maybe in the future we'll see some of those characteristics improve or come into Max Verstappen, maybe because he's still younger and still eager in the sport and wants to win every race at all pace.
Oh, sure.
That childishness
will become more of a team player.
But I think he will outgrow it in the coming seasons. He just needs to we just need to give him a couple of seasons. I think he will outgrow it. It's one of those things in the sport.
Okay, so this Belgian Grand Prix is the last race before the summer break. And there appears to be a lot of pressure on the Red Bull. 3 races without a win. And there's pressure on the Red Bull team. Max Verstappen has not won in 3 games. And Checo is struggling keep up the pace and he keeps losing points for the team. And he has even been threatened with sack. How do you think? Also, I heard that Verstappen will start 10 positions behind his qualifying spot here in Belgium because of something he did in Hungary. I don't know what exactly that is. How do you think Red Bull would approach this race, considering all this pressure?
Oh wow, I think I would research that before the race and give us some updates on that. I've not heard that.
Okay,
But I
okay.
think for Red Bull, with regard to 10 place grid penalty, maybe it might be most likely maybe an
I
engine
think it was the
penalty.
incident with Hamilton.
Penalty. Okay, this is Hamilton, but that
I
cannot
think so,
warrant
but
10.
I don't know who was guilty. Who was the guilty
But
party, really?
I'll read up on that. It didn't come
Okay,
up during my research, but we'll find
okay.
out and update our viewers. I think Spa is going to be interesting. The Belgian Grand Prix is going to be interesting. I think looking at how vital and important Red Bull is and the struggles that they've had this season, and
Yeah.
we know that
They're under a lot of pressure. They were threatening
there,
to take it away, but now Mercedes and McLaren is putting them under tremendous pressure.
yeah, so they're under tremendous pressure to perform in Spa. The ironic thing is Spa, the circuit in Spa kind of favors Red Bull. I think looking at what their performance of their car and knowing that aside McLaren that has an overall balanced performance of across all the circuits, I think the track in Spa actually suits the Red Bull car because of the straight line speed and the medium corner. So I think Red Bull are quite favorites for Spa, looking at the upgrades um, that Red Bull has done with regards to the car of Max Verstappen. I know Checo might struggle, but some of the things that we know Red Bull will be doing is that Red Bull will be reverting back to um, revert back to the old specification of the RB20. So they will also be reverting back to what they use in I think in was it in Jeddah. I think the some of the rear wings they use in Jeddah. So they are going to be reverting back to the old model in a couple of that they use in a couple of races back to what they are going to be using in Spa. I think because of the way the track is, they are going to be doing that because of that specification actually suits the RB20 because of the low downforce configuration. And
Yes,
that actually meets the
because this particular
track.
track, there are a lot of high-speed corners and long straights, meaning that
Yeah, I
there's
think
ample opportunity to overtake.
I think from the screen that you shared earlier, you could see that the track is actually it suits. That is one of the tracks that many have said suits Red Bull. Looking at it, maybe if you can bring it up so I can just highlight some
Okay.
key things for me. It suits Red Bull. You see the straight line speed from the first sector, from the first corner all the way to the third corner. I see it's just straight line. Then from the fourth corner all the way to the fifth corner is straight line
There's
speed
another straight line, yeah.
and a full DRS detection zone. So you see there's a whole full DRS can even come in from this turn 14 to turn 4 to turn 5, the straight line. So you can open the rear wing of the DRS and use it there also. Although there are also so many DRS detection zones. So these are the detection zones where it will be activated and you now use it all through the straight line speed in also. So it's quite an interesting track. And I think it's one track that actually suits Red Bull. And I think Red Bull will really, really be strong. I think this track is just a battle between Red Bull and McLaren in general.
Yes, absolutely. I think you're right about that. It's between Red Bull and McLaren. So, what do you think Red Bull's strategy will be? Red Bull recently introduced a high downforce upgrade, which will be adjusted for spark characteristics. And Verstappen was complaining about certain things that he wasn't happy with. Or maybe it's just, you know, his temperament. He loses a race, but do you think his complaints were valid? He was complaining about some um, setup that didn't particularly bring out the desired outcome in his car and affected him in that race.
Yeah, I think Max relatively complained about the RB20. He said that he struggled. And if you look at the last race, the RB20 struggled in the second sector, most importantly, where there were more curbs, which was very crucial with them. I think that was part of the complaint. He was losing time in the second sector, and it was quite worrying. And they are coming into the race in Spa with some a bit of new upgrade to kind of address some of those issues. I know they are looking at engine cover and front wing design also coming into Spa, as well as reverting to back of some of the old configurations. But I think his complaints are valid, and he was complaining bitterly that the car is undrivable and so many issues. But he also has to understand that the car came in with it's an improved car, it's an upgraded car that he's driving. There have not really been ample time to study the performance of the car with regards to so many other factors. So those things are expected when you see configuration setup not properly done, as well as balance and a little bit of oversteer and understeer. So it happens, but Max, he holds nothing back. He says everything outright on the radio once he's not happy with the desires of
Oh,
the car.
sure,
And when he's happy with the
absolutely.
car,
It's very
he also
outspoken.
appreciates the team that
Yeah,
thank you for this car, and I appreciate them for giving him a good
sure.
car. So
Very
I think he's
outspoken.
just expressing some of the issues.
Yeah. And the weather conditions, it appears this Spa circuit, the weather conditions can be tricky. Be good for the drivers to be prepared for wet conditions. It won't necessarily be hot throughout. There could be rain. How do you think the weather conditions could impact the race? Strategies teams might employ to handle varying conditions, especially
Yeah,
McLaren and Mercedes.
yeah. I think with strategy, I think strategy can come into play, like what we saw in the last race, where some teams were proactive in making pit stops early and using the undercut to the advantage, like Mercedes and then Ferrari during the racing last weekend. So I think strategy is also very key. I think one thing with Red Bull is they have been proactive in the early part of the season with regards strategy and pit stop. But since they've now started being on the back foot behind McLaren, they are now very reactive with regards their strategy and proactiveness. So they also now tend to wait for what other teams do before they react, and it's something that has actually punished them. And I know Max complained bitterly about this in the last race. So they need to be able to hit the ball by the run and be more proactive with their pit stop and their strategy. And that is one thing I know Mercedes Benz always have a good icon on with regards that they are very proactive with regards strategy, and they just take the risk and then the consequences. So they are always one thing that
But
they
but
always
in wet
take.
conditions, which teams and drivers do you think traditionally would have an advantage if the
Yeah,
conditions
I
are
think
really wet?
I think in wet it will still be the same Red Bull and
McLaren.
McLaren because of
Okay.
the straight line speed power. But their car is, I think also the experience of the drivers can come in. I know Alonso and Hamilton also, they are very good drivers when they're driving in the wet. So that might also give those both drivers an edge if it rains. But subject to that, I think the McLaren and the Red Bull will just be too superior. But not
Yeah.
to say not to discard the Ferrari, but I think they are not there yet. Mercedes is not there yet also. But I think it just mainly those two teams.
Okay, so it's going to basically be a battle between Max and the two McLaren drivers. But where do you see, who do you think would be a potential dark horse for this race? Someone that is unexpected that can just spring into maybe podium.
I think if there are crashes, if there are crashes or red flags or yellow flags or strategy benefits, I think George Russell is also someone that we have to keep a close watch on. He tends to
Okay.
perform very well when you don't expect him to perform. And I think he's someone I think would perform very well on this track.
Okay. So let's talk about tires now. How do you think the tire choice or tire grades would affect this race in any way?
Yeah, I think I can't recall the number of laps for in Spa right now, but I know
Yeah.
definitely it's going to be a two-stop strategy. So definitely we go both the strategy will be on the medium and a hard compound tire. That will be what
Okay.
same as the last race. That will be what both teams will be looking at as tire degradation and rear tire management. So I think two stop will be more realistic. But I think in qualifying we'll see the softs coming so that we can get the fastest and the best and most ample time that can help the team with regards pole position and qualifying position.
Okay, in the last race, it was 70 laps, I think. But this
Yeah,
particular track is longer than Hungaroring. What determines the number
lap.
of laps, basically?
No, I think is the
Length of the
um
track.
the, the length of the track determines the number of laps. So if the
Okay,
laps
so we could have more
the
than
circuit
70 here.
if the circuit is shorter, the laps are more. But if the circuit is longer, the
Okay,
laps are
fewer laps. Okay,
shorter laps.
okay. So basically, it's going to be a very interesting race. I don't know close to call, like you rightly mentioned, Red Bull and McLaren, but the pressure will still be on Red Bull. Let me just quickly bring up uh the constructors and the drivers. The gap is really, really closing up on Red Bull. And it appears that they need to get their acts together. Verstappen is on 265, Lando Norris is on 189. And there's a massive golfing gap to the rest of them. Even Piastri that won the last time is fifth presently. But in the constructors is where I think McLaren has really closed the gap. Red Bull is on 389 and McLaren is on 338. If they win here again, it would really narrow the gap. And our friend
Yeah,
Checo has to put in a very good performance.
yeah, I think a 1-2 for McLaren would definitely do them a lot of good in Spa. I think a 1-2 would take them maybe 15 or 20 points behind Red Bull. Knowing that if Checo has a disastrous race and Max just managing to get a bit of points in Spa, that will be the difference between both teams. But I think it's very interesting. I like the way the constructors is going. I like that it's competitive. I like that, yes, it's not
Oh,
an
yeah,
all Max
absolutely. Because
all
if you look
races.
at the way the season started, Red Bull was threatening to take it all away. But all of a
Yeah.
sudden, the resurgence of
Thank,
McLaren and Mercedes has pegged them back. But our
yeah,
friends
thank
in
God for
Ferrari,
Imola.
what do you think will happen with Ferrari in this race? They seem to be on a downward spiral. What did you hear of any upgrades? What are their plans for this race, especially when they're expecting Lewis Hamilton to join them next season? What exactly is happening in Ferrari? Did you hear anything on the internet about them?
Yeah, for Ferrari, I think they have some crucial they are coming into Spa with some crucial upgrade to solve the high speed bouncing issues. Charles Leclerc and Sainz have been complaining of the bouncing of the car. I know coming into Hungary, they had a revised floor, and this also helped to improve the bouncing a bit. But they also complained that the bouncing was still happening in the medium and high speed corners. So they are coming to with a revised floor suspension to tackle this in Spa. Also, they're also looking at if this can solve the bouncing issue, and most likely you can call them for getting a podium, but I think that is still way off projection. Many are projecting that if they can cope or handle their bouncing issue, they can stand a chance of getting on the podium. But I don't see that happening for Ferrari. But with that, they just believe that if they can stop the bouncing, that will also help shape the direction of the development and way forward with regards to improving the car for now and the following seasons of Formula One.
Okay, just
So
to
I know a
update.
couple of teams also coming with upgrades too.
Okay, please go ahead. Anyone that you know, we can quickly talk about it. Mercedes, Red Bull, McLaren, upgrades
Okay,
and car
okay,
setups.
okay. Yeah, okay. For McLaren and the MCL 38, I think relatively the only issue that it has is the drag issue. And I know with regards to updates, they are coming with front and rear wing revisions coming into Spa. So these are versions that they've used in previous races in the season. So they are bringing that back into Spa because it suits the track um, perfectly. And they hope this specific part that they also be introducing in Spa will also help meet the low downforce demands that the car actually require. And they believe that this will also perform very well in Spa. Another thing coming with upgrade is Mercedes. Mercedes is also bringing specific upgrades which will be mostly visual changes to the car and dynamics. I know that they said they are going to bring back the rear wing and the front wing that they used in Jeddah, and they are bringing it back in Spa because it meets the track demand. So they are going to be doing that. They're also looking at using a revised deflector aimed at reducing the floor loss and thereby improving the rear downforce through a range of rear heights. So Spa is also a track that is also something that it's not a track that Mercedes actually do very well at. But looking at it critically, you can see that some of these things are actually making serious changes to the design of the car because of the uniqueness of the circuit. I think lastly, Red Bull is also coming with some upgrade, and they are going to bring a new engine cover and a new front wing design to Spa. We all know that this upgrade will only be for Max car because Checo's car did not really have some of these upgrades. But like we said, the RB20 will be reverting to some of the specifics used in previous circuits to suit the performance of this track and to see how the car will perform. So definitely, there's nothing new that is, anything is really bringing in, but it's just that they are bringing some old parts and tweaking some things that they've used in different tracks to suit
Adapt to this particular
the
track.
track specification. I think another two things are left with regards to upgrade. I think Aston Martin is one. They said they are coming with 7 key upgrades in Hungary to look at they came with some upgrades in the last race, and they were quite impressive with the race time and the lap time that they were getting, but the results did not really transmit in that. But since then, they said that they are going to be coming in with 2.5 of the B spec upgrade to address the issues that the Aston Martin car is having, and they hope that the upgrade will address these issues. That means they will have a complete revision of the side ports, which will provide more development and
A
direction for the
revision of the
car.
side pods.
Yes. So also I know they have an issue with struggling with poor handling, and the car was not drivable. I know Alonso was complaining bitterly that the ARN24 suffers from high rear tire segregation and lose significant speed in low speed corners. So some of these side pod changes that they are making, they are looking to see if this will address some of the issues and also help know how they will take development forward. Lastly, for the Williams, I think this is one thing that scored points, I think, in the last 3 races, but in the last couple of races, they've really struggled. And they are coming with
And I don't think
some
they've done
upgrades.
any upgrades lately. They've just been
Yes,
very silent.
yes. The one on the down part of the William car is that they struggle at the medium corner. So they are good with the high speed corners, but around the medium and low speed sections they suffer. So they are bringing in an upgrade to add efficiency downforce to improve the corner performance while maintaining the good aero efficiency of the car. So that is something that they are looking at working at. I know the team principal James Vowles have also mentioned this in a couple of interviews. But I think we're just going to be seeing pockets of upgrade. I think before the second part of the season commence, I know some things will also be looking at bringing in better and more improved upgrades. But for now, they are just trying to suit certain configuration of the car to suit the track and Spa.
The track. Yeah. And just to update our viewers, it was announced today that Haas has signed Esteban Ocon, partner Oliver Behrman for 2025. I was thinking
Yeah.
Behrman was going to Ferrari. How was it that he he deputized for, I think it was Carlos Sainz he deputized for earlier in the season when he had the surgery?
Yes, Carlos Sainz, yes.
Okay, so I think it was headed for Ferrari before, but it appears Esteban Ocon would partner him in 2025. What are your thoughts? How would you think Esteban will improve the Haas team?
Yeah, I think for Esteban, he needed a team. We knew Alpine pushed him out, or Alpine forced him out of the team. He needed a team, and he got one. I think he's a very good driver. Knowing that he's had the race win under his belt. He's someone that will add quality to Haas and provide more insights. And we are aware that the deal he signed with Haas is a multi-year deal, so it's not like a 1 year deal. It's 2 years plus deal. So it's a good one for him. Congratulations to him. He's still in the sport. I think there are also rumors spreading that Kimi Antonelli also will be announced as the new Mercedes driver to replace Lewis
Yeah,
Hamilton around
yeah,
in the world of Formula One, just to bring that. But that has not been officially announced like Esteban Ocon. For Oliver
yeah.
Bierman, it's quite understandable knowing that Red Bull just signed Hamilton on a 2-year deal with an option of a third, and having Charles Leclerc on a long-term contract. So there was no way he was going to get any.
Ferrari just signed
Yes,
Hamilton.
Hamilton. So there was no way that Oliver Bearman would get a seat. So he just had to look for another option
Of
with
course,
regards to development
course,
because he can't be
absolutely.
a reverse driver for too long. Once you're a reserve driver for too long, your talent or your the general awareness around your skill tends to fade away. So I think it was the right move for the young man.
Yeah,
That
Mercedes has invested so much in Antonelli. I had spotted him as early as 12 years old, and his trajectory seems to be similar to that of Max Verstappen. So it looks like, although we don't know, Toto Wolff seems to be a confused man. He still talks about Verstappen. We don't know what direction he's going to, but I think it would be good for them to invest in a younger driver for the future than paying millions of dollars to sign up Max Verstappen. You never know. What are your predictions for qualifying, Gordon, for this particular Grand Prix?
Yeah, for qualifying, I think it's going to be quite interesting for qualifying. I just know that it's going to be the McLaren, Red Bull McLaren. I think Max will split the McLarens this time for qualifying. I just have that gut in me that he will split them. But let's see how it goes during free practice and 1, 2, and 3. Let's see. But I think it's just between those two teams. I think Mercedes will struggle. I think Ferrari will struggle. I think Aston Martin will struggle a bit. I think it's just relatively between the battle between the McLaren and the Ferraris, and it's going to be quite interesting. And
I
I
think I
know
agree with you. It's going to be
if team
McLaren and Red
strategy
Bull.
comes,
But like you rightly mentioned, the George Russell might be the dark horse. Maybe
yeah,
the sole representative of Mercedes.
yeah. But I think in this track there will also be. I think we should expect dramas if we see a repeat of what happened in the last race where team orders might come in. I think this time the team orders will not be obeyed. In my opinion, I think coming into Spa this time.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Bedu. Sorry to keep you late. It's been wonderful talking to you again. Thanks for all your insights. We'll see our viewers again sometime during the weekend, probably maybe after the qualifiers. Thanks for your time. My name is Tila Falabi, and from Bedu, it's good night to our viewers.
Good night, guys. Like, share, subscribe, comment on this video to encourage us to keep doing this. Thank you. Cheers.